History 1. Maybe I'm getting too worried, but something happened today that I want to talk about and hear what you think. A buddy sent me a Craigslist ad for some dolls with lots of extra stuff for only $50. It was a really good deal for all the things it included, so I emailed the person but didn't get a reply. I thought, oh well, maybe someone else got it before me. Then I got an email saying, sorry, I've been out all day today, where can you pick it up? The message was sent from an iPhone. I replied, I can pick it up tomorrow. What time and where do you want to meet? I didn't get a response, so I went to bed. The next morning I got an email from the person saying, I waited at the Oakdale school for about 10 minutes and you're not here, so I'm going to leave. I replied saying, I'm really sorry. I didn't get any emails last night before going to bed and I just woke up, so I didn't know I had an appointment. But I can come to your home if that's okay. It's only a 30-minute drive for me. She replied, no, it's fine. So can we meet at the school in an hour? I checked on Google and found there are 2 Oakdale schools in the town, so I sent another email asking which one it was. Now there was complete silence. Because I already missed a meeting with her before, I decided to go. I quickly got into my car and sent another email telling her which school I chose from the 2 options I listed earlier and that I was on my way. It was the weekend, meaning the school would be closed, and there wouldn't be anyone around. I didn't receive an email telling me which school it was, so I was just hoping I picked the right one. After about 5 minutes, a black SUV pulled up next to me. There was a friendly couple in their late 30s inside and 2 big dogs in the back seat. The woman got out of the car holding a really big closed box. She said I could look through it before giving her the money. We were standing at the front right of her SUV. Then I saw the guy getting out of the car and walking to the back. I thought he was checking on the dogs from the back hatch. But no, he walked around the back of the car and then came up behind me in my blind spot. I turned to look at him with a really surprised expression because I found it weird. He had a half smile on his face and wouldn't look me in the eye. It made me nervous, and my skin started to crawl. I got that really sinking feeling deep in the pit of my stomach. I realized there was no one else around, and there was really no reason for him to leave his car and come up behind me like that. I put the box in my car, keeping an eye on the guy, and hurried away. If he just wanted to keep his wife safe, why didn't he get out of the car before we exchanged money? And why did he go the long way around the car to come up behind me when the shortest way to his wife was in the front where we were closest? Why bother putting 2 big dogs in an SUV for just a 3-minute ride? I really think the dogs were meant to distract me, but I'm not sure. And maybe they changed their minds when they realized I wouldn't be an easy target. It was really weird. I'm not someone who thinks everything is dangerous, but there was definitely something disturbing about the whole situation. Luckily, I got away safely, but I can't help wondering what they were really up to. History 2. I bought myself a new smartwatch, one of those fancy ones from Samsung, but I didn't to use it much, so I decided to sell it on Craigslist. I took pictures of the front, back, and each band, then posted the ad. Responses came flooding in, so I started answering them one by one, prioritizing the first person who contacted me. One response stood out. It was from a man named David, who said he was in the military. He explained that he wanted to buy the watch as a graduation gift for his nephew who was finishing school. David's reason for getting the watch seemed genuine, so I chose to sell it to him. He then mentioned that his nephew's graduation party was that weekend, and he wanted the watch to be there on time. He asked if I could send it the next day and promised to send extra money to cover the faster shipping. It sounded reasonable, so I agreed. After our conversation, I received a PayPal receipt from him. I took the watch to the post office and sent it off, then shared the tracking number with David to ensure the gift would arrive on time. However, something felt off. I realized I hadn't received any email from my bank about the money transfer. When I looked at the PayPal receipt again, I noticed some things that seemed strange. The payment confirmation had some unusual details. Normally, when I sold stuff on Craigslist, I'd check the sender's address to ensure it was legit. But this time, the person sent the payment through PayPal. Unfortunately, I did double-check it. I was in a hurry and believed the story about needing the watch urgently for a graduation party. The address on the PayPal receipt looked sketchy, not like a normal PayPal address. As I paid more attention, other things didn't add up. The whole receipt seemed off, and not like a valid PayPal one. I felt like a fool because I'm usually the one warning others to be cautious about these things. I was just trying to help, but I ended up falling for the scam. I went to the local police station to report what happened. They told me that since I lived in an unincorporated area, I needed to talk to the sheriff's office. The folks at the sheriff's office were very helpful. They sent someone to meet me at the local police station, and we discussed the situation. I shared all the details: the ad, the response, the man in the military, and the rush for next day's shipping. The deputy helping me explained that without the serial number, there wasn't much they could do. It was disappointing, but he assured me he would write a report. Then I remembered I took pictures of everything. Even though I fell for the scam, I had a photo of the back of the watch, including the serial number. So I might have been foolish, but at least I was a smart fool. The deputy noted down the serial number and the address where I sent the watch. He told me he would talk to the local police and see if they could figure things out. I shared the story with my girlfriend, friends, and parents. 2 days later, the deputy called and said they got a warrant for the house where I sent the watch. They searched the house and found not just one watch, but thousands of them. These folks had watches worth thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. A woman at the house allowed the items to be sent there. It turned out she was receiving these things for her fiancé. She claimed they were gifts and that her fiancé was a good and honest man. The police tried to explain that he might not be telling the truth, that he was stealing things. The deputy mentioned that since I reported it in the suburbs of New York, people from all over the country might get their valuable items back. A few days later, they called and said my watch was ready. I had to go to this intimidating police building to get it. I went through a scanner, got checked for weapons, and talked on a phone to explain why I was there. Then, a lady guided me to a room with lockers and handed me an envelope with the package. I was surprised to see everything still wrapped in the tissue just like I had packed them. Now, I make sure to wear my watch every day and have decided to stay away from using Craigslist. History 3. My friend Emily teaches piano to a lot of people, and she used to put ads on Craigslist to find students. She would tell them how much it costs for lessons, but I forgot the exact amount. Anyone could sign up for lessons, whether they wanted to learn alone or in a group. Emily teaches piano to people at different skill levels, even helping them with exams in music theory and practical skills. She's really good at playing the piano. Even now she plays almost every day. She has 3 keyboards and a grand piano. The grand piano is super expensive, like $50,000. One day she put an ad on Craigslist telling people she could teach them piano for some money. At the time, teaching piano was her main job and how she made her living. After about a week, she got a few replies. 2 were from women and 1 was from a man. She chose to teach the man first and planned to reschedule the women for later in the week. The man was supposed to come over in the evening, maybe around 4 o'clock or 5 p.m., right after he finished his work. Emily told me that when he walked up to her house, he seemed really weird. He was difficult to describe because when I asked her, she couldn't say much about him. The only thing she kept talking about was the feeling she got from him. The feeling was so bad that she felt sick and nervous about letting him into her house for the lessons. But she thought since the guy was there with the money, paying her before the lesson, she went along with it. So when she held the money, she felt like she couldn't do much, even though she could say no right there at the door. But she thought she wouldn't have the confidence to do that. She would need a good excuse to turn him away. So despite feeling uneasy, she chose to let this guy into the house, going against her gut feeling. They went ahead with the piano lesson, and it went on for about 40 minutes. He took a seat at the grand piano, and believe it or not, she started the lesson on that expensive $50,000 grand piano. I always told her not to do that, as I thought it would be better for her students to begin on the keyboards, considering the cost and all. But I guess, to be professional, she thought it was okay. She took out her music books, theory notes, and chords to start the lesson. I don't know much about what pianists do, but she taught the lesson. When it ended, the guy was still acting strange. She also mentioned he wasn't a great learner and had trouble playing even simple scales. His fingers were awful big and clumsy for playing the piano, so he often missed some keys or pressed two at the same time. But her job was to teach him, so she did her best. After the lesson, she suggested scheduling more lessons regularly, like every week, to help him get better at playing the piano. Everyone knows that top musicians practice a lot throughout their lives. The saying "practice makes perfect" is really true in that world. So, my friend recommended having a lesson once a week to improve his piano skills. The guy looked at her and said, "No, I'm fine. Thanks for the lesson, though." As he was getting ready to leave, he suddenly stopped at the door. He started staring at my friend, checking her out from head to toe like he was thinking about doing something really bad. "Is everything okay?" she asked. She even went on to say, "Do you need to use the bathroom?" The guy stared at her blankly for another 3 seconds. Then, as if he suddenly snapped back to reality, he said, "No, I'm okay. Thanks. Thanks for the lesson." After that, he walked out the door and left. She closed the door and told me that she felt really uneasy. Well, to make a long story short, after many weeks passed, it turned out that the guy she taught piano to during that 40-minute lesson was Jack Thornton. He was known as the Craigslist killer, convicted of murdering women he met through Craigslist. We couldn't believe what had just happened. Somehow he had decided not to take action on my friend in that moment at the doorway. When he looked her up and down, it must have been the split second when he decided if he wanted to hurt her or not. Even now, when I talk to my friend, we still wonder what was it that made him decide she could live while others couldn't. She was alone at home. He could have easily done something bad. For a while, she stopped taking on new clients for piano lessons and only taught her regular students. History 4. Before I get into the story, let me introduce myself. My name's Jake, and I'm an 18-year-old student. I enjoy hanging out with my friends, and that's basically where it all began. Over the months, I've been taking a bus to my friend Tom's village where we would relax, smoke, and chat about all sorts of things. One day, while we were chilling, an old guy approached us in a weird way, like someone who had too much to drink. He asked, "Hey, can you tell me the name of this place?" We told him, and he just smiled and walked away. We laughed about it, but man, I wish we hadn't. What he said next sent chills down my spine. He looked at us seriously and said, "What are you laughing at?" We stopped laughing immediately and just stared at him. "You better get out of here, or I'll hurt each one of you, especially the big guy," he threatened. This made me really angry, so I started yelling back at him, "Why are you calling me big?" My friends tried to calm me down, but we ended up shouting at each other for a whole minute. It all stopped when he growled and quietly mumbled to himself. We thought it was over and that he was probably just very drunk, so we didn't pay much attention to it for the rest of the day. Over the next few weeks, I kept seeing him around, but he didn't say anything. He just stared straight into my eyes. A few weeks passed and I almost forgot about it. When I came back in mid-June, everything seemed fine, or so I thought. We had a party at Tom's house, and it was me, Alex, Sarah, Emma, and Julie. Julie even teased me a bit. In short, everything was awesome. After a while, Emma came and told us she heard something outside. We ignored her, saying she might be worried for no reason, and that maybe her mind was playing tricks on her. But we were all wrong. Then, after about an hour and a half, Emma came back to us and said, "It's not in my head, there's really someone outside." The girls got really scared. My buddies and I were a bit worried, but not scared. Since it was a village and not a city, we thought there wouldn't be any burglars. Again, we were wrong. After maybe 4 to 7 minutes, we heard loud banging at the door. Tom told me to take the girls to his room upstairs, and I did what he said. After that, I went back downstairs, but all the lights were off, and all 3 of them were crouching down, looking like they were trying to hide from someone or something. "What's going on down here, dude?" "Don't come down here. Tom saw someone with a shotgun outside," Alex whispered. I felt like we were all in danger. The first thing I thought about was what kind of shotgun it was, so I asked, What kind of shotgun did he have? The one you pump or the one with 2 barrels? Tom said, I think he has the one with 2 barrels. I sat there thinking and said, he only has 2 shots. Tom asked, what? I explained, he only has 2 chances to hit something. If he comes in the house, we need to be really quick to disarm him. Alex and John thought I was crazy, but Tom told them to be quiet and that I was right. After that, I went into Tom's room and told the girls to call the police. I explained about the guy outside with a shotgun and told them to be careful. Both of them started crying and almost lost control. I repeated to Emma to call the police, and she did. After the call, I heard loud screaming and gunshots from where my friends were. I hurried down and saw Tom bleeding from his shoulder. He shouted loudly for us to call the police. I told him Emma had already called them. When I looked to my right, I saw Alex and John holding down a middle-aged guy who was yelling he was going to kill us. John grabbed his shotgun and hit the guy in the head so hard that he fell unconscious. When the police arrived, we explained everything. Tom went to the hospital and was okay after a few days. The police said he was a 43-year-old homeless man from another state. We had no idea how or why he ended up at Tom's place, and we didn't know his true intentions. You might think the story finishes here, but nope, it doesn't. It's over for my friends, but not for me. One day in September, we thought it would be okay to hang out and chat, and Tom brought up that night. He said things like, if I didn't get hurt, I might have fought him. That guy broke my door. We teased him and he started coughing. After he stopped, he asked me, you wanted to be with Julie that night, right? I chuckled and said jokingly, well, if she was interested. We laughed again. It was now around 9 p.m., so we decided to head home. Since it was the weekend and the bus wasn't running, I had to walk home, which was about 7 miles away. We all said bye to each other, and my long walk started. I put on my headphones and listened to some music. While enjoying the music, I felt someone touching my shoulder. I took out my headphones and turned around. The only person I didn't want to see was standing a few feet from me. It was the old drunk guy. He screamed at me, my friend is in prison because of you. It was the only thing he had to do and he messed it up. I'm going to hurt you all by myself. I punched him in his nose and started running. I'm a big guy, 250 pounds and 6'1" tall, but I ran so fast that I tripped over my own foot and fell right on my face. I tried to get up, but the guy jumped on me and started hitting me in the head. I hit him with the back of my head on his nose, and luckily it worked. I got up and ran away, screaming for help as loud as I could. About 4 people came outside to see what was going on. When they saw me, they yelled at him to leave me alone and even started running towards us. They called the police and an ambulance. I explained everything to them. The next day, while I was in the hospital with my parents, a lot of people came to visit me. Everything is normal now. I go out more, and I'm even dating Julie. Sometimes I still hang out with my friends. This experience was really bad, I'll be honest, but at least I lost more than 30 pounds and got a new girlfriend. History 5. After my summer job ended, I started searching for an affordable apartment near my college. During my search, I kept coming across a Craigslist ad posted by 3 college students who were vegans and looking for a roommate. Although I'm not vegan, I figured I could be respectful and get along with them. The pictures in the ad showed friendly faces, so I called the number. A man answered and said I could come by to check out the place. He mentioned that my potential roommates were students at the same community college I attended, and even told me about their majors. It sounded legit, but to be safe, I brought a friend with me when I went to see the place. When we arrived at the house, the man showed me the smallest room. I liked it. The rent was affordable, and as a broke student, it seemed perfect. Then he showed me the other rooms, which were completely empty. No one was living there. He said, "Oh yeah, those are for the other 2 roommates. They're not here yet. They're still moving in." I didn't really believe him, but I knew I couldn't find another place at such a low price, so I agreed to take the room. I moved in with my sleeping bag and stayed cautious, hoping everything would turn out fine. Oh boy, I was naive. I soon realized that this man was my only roommate, and he slept in the bedroom next to mine. I felt something was really off, but I was stuck without better options. I had recently taken a job at a coffee shop that barely paid anything, so I knew I couldn't afford to move to a different place at that time. About a week into our rental agreement, the man asked me to join him in the living room for a chat. He said it was to help us get to know each other better. At first, the conversation was casual, but then he started talking about things he'd seen in adult movies. Yeah, you get me. He was saying how he didn't understand why some people liked that stuff. I could see where this was heading, and things got uncomfortable fast. I found myself sitting in his living room, and he had this creepy smirk on his face. Things hit rock bottom when he got serious. He told me, "Imagine we're super good friends, like really close." And he said this with a creepy grin, looking at me weirdly. He continued making more inappropriate comments, and the situation got worse. I felt like I was in a really bad place and knew I had to get out. I stood up and said, "Okay, I can't stay here anymore. I'm moving out now, thank you." I grabbed what I could carry and called a friend to pick me up right away. The guy was really angry, following me around the apartment as I tried to gather my things. He started insisting I owed him a month's rent, which I didn't. But my parents always told me not to deal with crazy people, so I found the money and paid him just to get out of there. For the next 3 months, I slept on my friend's floor, but only when his roommate wasn't there, as he didn't like people staying for free, which I thought was understandable. Sometimes I also slept on the couch at work. I even used the restroom at a nearby 24-hour grocery store to sleep where nobody bothered me. Life was hard, but I preferred doing all that instead of staying with that strange guy. He was just weird. Eventually, I found a room I could afford, and it was with a female musician. These kinds of situations are not uncommon in places like LA, but I really hope he didn't take advantage of other people like he did with me.